Welcome back, everyone. So let's continue with creating our app functional component. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to move search box back into the return of our HTML. So I'm going to uncomment it. And let's think about what we need in order to pass this on search change that we had before into search box. As we know with a function is supposed to iterate from top to bottom, meaning that JavaScript runs from top to bottom. So of course we need to actually create this on search change function inside of our app. So I'm just going to create this function right here on search change, and this is going to be equal to a function. And this will be the exact same search change handler that we had before. So scrolling down here, let's copy what's inside of here. In fact, let's take the whole entire function because we need the event. We're going to have to fix it up a little bit because it is commented out below. So if I paste this here, I will need to uncomment that out and fix the tabbing here. So here what we do, we get the event, and then what we do, we lowercase it, and following up, we do this set state. So this .setState, as I mentioned, is a method unique to class components, but we're not using that anymore. In fact, let me remove it because we don't need our class component anymore. How are we going to set state? This is actually where we need to use a hook. So let me explain what hooks are, and more specifically, the most simplest hook that's available to us, which is the useState hook. useState essentially gives us an ability to encapsulate local state in a functional component. So let's talk about how we actually use it. What we're going to do is we are going to use array destructuring from useState, because useState gives us back an array of two values. So if you're unfamiliar with array destructuring, essentially what it does is it allows us to assign variables to values inside of an array. So as a quick example, let me just quickly show you. Let's say that we had some array and it contained the values 2 and 4 like this. If I do const a, b equals array, so I'm saying, hey, I want you to assign a variable a to the first value and a variable b to the second value. Now a, as we see, is equal to 2, b is equal to 4. So this is exactly what we're doing here. useState gives us back an array of two values. The first value is going to be the value that we want to store, and the second value is going to be a setter function. So what do I mean by this? useState, unlike the setState that you're familiar with inside of class components, is an object in the class component, but in the functional component, it's individual values. We are not trying to store entire objects. So here, what we want to do when we say, oh, this useState value, we are going to encapsulate a singular value from that state. So if you have multiple values in a state, well, then you need multiple useState calls. Each hook only hooks into one value. So here we want to do search field. So search field, you want to pass into the useState the initial value that it should be. And for us before, inside of our object, our search field's initial value was an empty string. So we want to do the same thing here. We're going to initialize it as an empty string. And what we'll get back again is the value and the set value. So here I'm going to call it the search field value. And then I'm going to call this set search field. So with these two values now, we're able to actually replicate the set state for just search field. So we don't need this anymore. Here, these two names clash. What really this search field is really the target value that's been lowercased. So I'm just going to say this is the search field string because that's what it is. It's the string value we're getting back from our search field. And what I want to do is now I want to call that set search field setter function that we get back from useState. And then I'm going to pass this in. So far, this is all we're really doing. And with this search field, what this should do now, simply, is just log the value. Because right now, nothing is actually happening. We haven't used this search field string in the state for anything yet. Before we were filtering monsters with it, but so far we haven't done anything. And the reason why is because I just want to show you what these values will be. So here I'm going to console.log search field. And I just want you to see what's happening. So let's save. Let's go to our application. Let's clear this out. So when we initialized, our search field is an empty string. That's the first time it logs. So remember, we're logging this after our useState gets called. So at this point, search field is an empty string because that's the default empty string value. We have this onSearchChange function, and what it does is it receives the event, it lowercases it, and then it calls setSearchField. And then we pass that into our search box component. So our search box component runs it every time we type into the search box. Now, if we start typing, what we see is that our search field is indeed updating the value inside of the local state with this string value. Now, one quick thing I want to mention is that when we're logging this isn't an object because I am logging out an object right here. I'm just using object shorthand in order to make it more clear to us what it is we're logging. But setState is really not in an object anymore. It's whatever value it is inside of the state itself. So in our particular case, this useState is a string. And whenever we set the value, we're setting a string. So search field value itself is actually a string. So if I instead remove those curly braces, and here instead, you'll see it mounts, it's empty. And then as you type, you log out a string. It's still just whatever value type it is. It doesn't get converted into an object the way that setState had it before, where our entire state object was an object. In here, it's whatever type it is when you pass it to the state hook. So this is an important difference. So now that we understand how to utilize the useState hook, in the next video, let's dive into the way that we can understand how these components are re-rendering in the context of this hook. See you in the next video.